All right, welcome again to our Flame and Hold. We'll be continuing on our series on goal setting. This is goal setting part 2. I'll be discussing how the Lord will help us to set goals. We discussed and enumerated in our very first, the first session, that a life not pursuing a goal is a life that will be wasted, because everything looks interesting, everything looks important, every career path and every ministry is important. However, we can't be everywhere, we can't do everything. We have to find our place, and one way to do that is in goal setting. Yes, to be able to, what are the steps to goal setting? Number one is to ask guidance from the Lord. As Christians, we believe that God does nothing without a purpose. In fact, the Bible told us that the fact that we were created was for a purpose. For his pleasure have we been created. There's a song that says, for thou hast created all things and for thy pleasure. So even our creation has a purpose, right? The coming of Jesus Christ has a purpose. The fact that we are alive is because there's a specific purpose for that. Now, if the purpose of something is not known, abuse becomes inevitable. And since we naturally will not gravitate towards our purpose in life, since naturally we are not wired to just spontaneously know what our goal is, our purpose is in life, it becomes paramount for us to seek guidance from the Lord. Christians believe that the Lord knows all things and he is willing to communicate with us. So the first thing is ask and you shall be given. Ask guidance from the Lord and be clear on the direction you are going to receive from the Lord. Be very, very clear on it. Whatever you hear, write them down and ensure that as you are writing them down, you also go back again to number one, asking guidance from the Lord, seeing that they fit into God's plan for your life. There are times you might not be able to have a broad perspective of what your purpose is, because it looks like God will unfold them in bits. For instance, when God was taking the children of Israel out of the promised land, he simply told them, I'm going to take you to a land flowing with milk and honey, right? He told them the destination from the very beginning. However, there were certain hurdles along the road that they never knew. As they met those hurdles and they waited on the Lord, he brought direction, he brought guidance, and he led them through to the promised land. Again, when Jesus Christ approached some of his disciples, he said, come and follow me. I will make you fishers of men, right? He told them again what he was going to make them to become. It was later on when they went out fishing and Jesus Christ approached them again, he told Peter what Peter needed to go through, and Peter was making comparisons with John, if you remember that story, right? When he met Saul too, who later became Paul, the Bible made us understand that he told Paul some of the things that Paul was going to suffer for him, right? So there are times we get something that looks like a far, the end picture from God, and there are times he just leads us precept by precept, step by step, and we end up arriving at the same place. Of course, even if he tells you the wider picture, the end result, you still need to be obedient on a daily basis, on a case-by-case basis, on a step-by-step basis to arrive at our goal or the plans that God has for us. We still need to be obedient enough to get there. We need to be committed to it and review regularly. We need to be committed to our goals and review regularly. What is not reviewed, you cannot improve upon. What you do not improve upon, you most likely not be able to perfect. What you do not perfect, you might end up not just doing achieving something great out of it. So we need to be committed to this issue of goal setting. When we understand that we are stewards, where we started from in our flame and hold, discussing about stewardship, when we understand that we are stewards and whatever has been given unto us, we have to give account to God, like the master who went away and gave his servants talents. We'll give account of our time, we'll give account of our resources, we give account of the spiritual talents God has given unto us. There is need for us to regularly review how we have used these resources vis-a-vis what God intended for them for us to do with them. The people in the military will usually have time where they sit back and look at what they've done. In churches, we have retreats. What do we use those retreats time? We have times where we sit back and look at our life and ask if and try to purge out some of the things. So steps in goal setting, be committed to a date. Right, we'll get to see that later on, so I won't preempt some of our discussion. Be high to stretch and challenge. When you set goals, they are to be attainable, that is true. But if you watch the way the Lord dealt with virtually everybody in the Bible, when he told them what they needed to achieve for him, the reaction of most people was that of, unworthiness. They felt incapable of doing it because it seemed too far stretched, too challenging. Moses, who ran away, suddenly remembered he was a stammerer and so many other things. It happens like that, right? So we have to be open to being stretched and challenged. That is how to achieve our goals. So today we'll spend time looking at perhaps the very first two items here on the slide. We have SMART goals. SMART there being an acronym for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. I have two brothers here with me. They've always been here with me. Bro Ernest Afolabi is here with me. And bro Victor Okpara is also here with me. And together we'll be discussing the SMART goals. SMART goals, and in the form of setting goals and achieving goals. I'll be giving bro Ernest Afolabi the opportunity to discuss some of the attributes of specific from the SMART goal. The first one is specific. Yeah, so bro Ernest, over to you. Let's discuss specific goals. Hello, bro Afolabi, are you there? You need to unmute yourself.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Good afternoon once again to everyone. Viewers, I want to once again welcome everyone to this platform. It's been wonderful reaching out on this platform. Very briefly, we quickly, just like you heard the moderator said, we're actually looking at goal setting, and I'll be talking briefly on specific goals. Now, the word specific talks about being single-minded, and it also talks about actually understanding what you want to do, and it's pointing to the fact that you have to be clear. And this is what, don't forget, we are discussing this topic on the basis of ministerial appointments or ministerial involvement. So please, you permit us, it also applies to every aspect of life, but we are trying to look at it from that perspective as it's. Now, if you look at the slide, you will discover that the very first thing you will ask yourself is, who is involved? Now, this is what I have in mind to do. Now, in setting out to carve out a roadmap for yourself to carry out a task, the first thing you will ask is who is involved? To whom? Like in business, people will talk about your target audience. Who is your target audience? Who are you going to meet? Who is involved? So I think this is one very basic truth that every minister or every child of God that is involved in ministry in one capacity or the other should actually have in mind. If I am involved in evangelism, one question you will ask yourself is, this next move I have in mind, to whom? Am I going to meet with am I going on a prison evangelism, hospital, arena evangelism? Am I going on a children evangelism, which has to do with you going to secondary schools around, maybe every morning or thrice a week? Or let me not go too deep in that, but just trying to, reel out some of these. Am I targeting market women? Am I targeting political environment or political arena? Who am I? Who is involved in this? So that's one question you must ask yourself. It's even possible that the person you are sent to, the kind of people, the caliber of people you are sent to, they are business people. So it will inform you of any other thing you'll be doing after now. It will open you up to the next question. How? What do I really do to accomplish this task? You see, the first one, who, talks about who exactly is involved, the kind of people, the kind of person you're going to meet. It will eventually determine how you prepare. It will eventually take place knowing what. Let me harmonize between the first one and the second one now, looking at who and what. If I am sent to minister to people in the world of business, now I would not just go there like the way the normal conventional type of evangelism, and you would have to think of, how do I set up one or two things? Okay, how do I get this? I will need to set up a seminar. Let me think of setting up a business seminar through which initially, in fact, you may not actually project your initial. It may be like something you are just doing to add value to their businesses, to help boost their. But deep down in you, you know where you are. You know where you are going. You know what you're driving at. You see, it becomes an avenue for you to reach out, and in the process, then you start putting in some biblical issues and bringing some men of God, the likes of Mike Murdoch and a few others, some motivational books on businesses and others. You look at the books, and when you look at the references, this is a way of why you reach out to this. You see, I have a boss who reads books by David Biomi and a few others, my own very chairman. Sometimes I will go into his parlor, I meet him listening to Success Power, and you discover that it is a way of reaching out. And he will tell me that I like them. I like them. I like their kind of administration. Hallelujah. Now, I'm just trying to bring that. Those guys have a mindset. They have a goal. They are very specific on the kind of people they want to reach for Christ. And they have to know what exactly to do in order to drive that point home. To try to harmonize between why, and of course, while the moderator was trying to talk about your reason matters, and that's where God factor. Right from the beginning, you must start with him and ask him, be very specific, I'm sending you to, because you have an allocation for what you are allocated to do. So that is very key. If he's actually sending you to the politicians, he will give you that political drive that will give you a platform to reach out to them. So the reason must be that we are all pointing towards one thing: populating God's kingdom and depopulating hell. Now, look at another point you look at there is which. Now, trying to know that for every assignment there are challenges, and that is why you have to understand why you are doing what you are doing. It becomes a source of strength for you going forward. Why are you doing what you are doing? It will help you when you get to this point where you have certain constraints, there are certain requirements you would need. Sometimes challenges could set in and all that. Now, if you know this is exactly what you need, no matter what comes on your way, you'll be able to identify, okay, this is excess to what I need, cut it off. This is exactly what I need. I leave it there. I will add this to this. So it becomes, and you go all for materials and all that you need to push yourself. These are very, very key things we also need to look at. Now, when it talks about time. You see, you must be, in fact, let me start by saying our lives itself, your own life itself, is time bound. It's time bound. The same thing happens to specific goals or purpose in life. Every purpose has its own timing. So you must set time for every goal. If God says you go to Enugu to carry out an assignment for him, you're going to Enugu to minister to people, you are going to Lagos to talk to people in Lagos by next month. So you must be very, very realistic with that, and you must tell yourself, fine, if God says I should go to Lagos, when? If I am going to Lagos next month, what day of the month do I need to put? Okay, what date of the month do I need to put it, and what day of the month? If I am sent to business people, do I just, okay, I will put the meeting, I'll put the seminar on Monday? No, you may be failing. So it has to do with your timing matters, and as it will help you to to measure your goals later, which somebody else will talk about. So it's very, very key. Your goals must be time based, and if you must also ask yourself where, which is the next one. Where exactly? Your location matters. You see, I once listened to some ministers, and credit to some of our fathers in the Lord, who will tell you, before I came to this environment, I received a direct instruction from God. Initially, it wasn't looking like it will all be like this. But today, but sometimes some of the people that are their followers go against their decision to change environment. But in the long run, you will just discover that boom, they are all in tune with it because it is yielding. It is yielding. So your location actually matters. Peter was, a minister to stay in Jerusalem and, minister to the Lordship of Israel. But don't forget, Paul was called. Right from the day he was called, he was given an agenda. He was sent to kings and also sent to the Gentiles. So just think about that and look at the areas Paul covered in his journey, in his ministerial journey. You will discover that he covered more lands in the Gentiles world than more lands in the Israeli world or in the Hebrew setting. That's because he understood his location. He understood where he should stay. Where exactly God wants him to operate, and he operated perfectly well. I think that's
All right, thank you so much, sir. So now we'll be looking at examples of setting specific goals. Like we have one example here on the screen. I will walk closer with God. We see people setting this kind of goals often. Maybe after a program, and they ask, "What is your take home from this program?" People usually say something like, "I will walk closer with God." And yes, as spiritual and as lofty as it sounds, 2 months down the line, many things have not been done, because when your goals are not specific, especially when they don't come with, they are not time bound, like we mentioned earlier here, and with time, you might not be able to. You have a good reason to procrastinate. Yeah. So, bro, how do we see the suggestion on that statement? I will walk closer with God.
Are you back to
Yeah,
me, right?
yeah. We have this statement, I'll walk closer with God, and we gave what we think will be a better way of making these goals specific. I will
Okay.
have
Now I will
a
sometimes
daily, because when you say
stop.
closer with God,
Okay.
yeah, when somebody says closer with God, there might be something he has in mind.
Yes. And that is why you see inside
Yeah.
the browser, I will. If you look at the example inside, it was a perfect example. I
Mm.
will I will have a daily, you are very definite, a daily devotion with God, 1 hour. That means you have set a duration for it. Then you have also set day. There is a daily. It means on regular basis, daily, every day I will do this. Then you set a duration 1 hour. Beginning from at every season, you set time for it, you set duration, you set time. Then in the morning, you set the period, starting from when? Tomorrow, the time. Now you look at it. I like that aspect of in the morning. Sometimes for some people, it may not be in the morning, but the beauty is that you have your time, a specific time, a specific period that you can stay closer to God. You see, it is very a typical example, and it's a perfect one. That if you want to set a goal, you want to set a goal, you must be specific about it this way. You must have time for
All
it.
right. So we are in the walking with God, we have daily devotion as the idea, what we are looking out for there. We have daily devotion as, when we say walking closer with God, so it could be, okay, am I walking closer with God in terms of reading my word or whatever? This said a daily devotion, okay, with God for 1 hour duration, but 6 a.m. Notice this, that might be easy to forget. In
The
my
morning.
room, in my room, the place, right? Then when are you going to start? This starting tomorrow is very key for most people. After having a wonderful program, I'll walk closer with God. When? Starting from when? When you don't have a start date, even if 2 years passes by, you still be making this statement, I'll walk closer with God, and you still be sounding spiritual and correct, right? Because you don't know you're actually failing if you don't have a start date. Look at the second one. I will be physically fit. I will be physically fit can be better put in the sentence in the red box there. I will join a health club near my home and work out 3 hours a week starting tomorrow. If you do anything less than 3 hours, you know you're not meeting your goals. If you don't start tomorrow, you know you're not meeting your goal. So it's very specific. Instead of just saying, I'll be physically fit. How will you measure that? Right? See the next one. I want to take care of my wife more. I want to take care of my wife more. A specific way of saying this could be, I want to spend every Saturday evening with my wife and treat her like a queen. You could even go ahead to expand treating her as a queen to be that, okay, I want to spend every Saturday evening with my wife, help her in household chores, you know, maybe take care of the toilet, do this, scrub the kitchen, something specific, something that when it's Sunday and you look back at Saturday, you'll be able to say if you met your goal or not. Else, there's no way of measuring this, right? So that takes us to Bro Chibuzo now. Measurable goals. Under our SMART, we've seen SMART, SMART, S for specific, M for measurable. Bro Victor, are you there now?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Once again, good afternoon to listeners. Um, when we talk about measurable, just like the words imply, we are trying to see how we can um, come up with a way of defining the quantity, of defining quantity, of defining um, the outcomes, the like it says the how much, how many, how do you know when it's accomplished. So basically, when we are looking at measurable, we are trying to look at coming up with a framework by which we can judge the goals we've set.
Mm.
So we are trying to come up with a framework by which we can judge the goals we've set, judge the attainment of those goals that we've set. So the first thing I want to see is how much or how many. So to what extent, how far do you want to go? Um, let's look at examples. I would prefer to just use the examples to explain some of these points rather
Okay.
than just looking at
Or you want us to go to the example
we'll
straight
come
up,
back.
right?
Yes, we'll come back. We'll come back there.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
okay,
We're here.
good. So now we are looking at certain measurable goals. So there is this example here. It says, "I want to share the gospel in Enugu." What do you mean? That is, by God's grace, I lived in Enugu for close to about 15, 16 years. That's a that's a very large expanse of place you want to share the gospel. Where exactly? Where? To how many people? So that gives you a way of measuring it. So it's easier, it's much better to now say, I will share the gospel with 100 people in New Heaven this year, starting next week. Immediately, you have defined, um, like we mentioned before, being specific, you define the area where you're looking at. You define how many people you want to reach out to. So if you've not gotten to 100 people, you know that you've not met your goals. Then again, you said you want to 100 people year, this year. So you have 100 people this year. So in measuring your goals, you are looking at the extent, how much, how many. You are looking at the time frame, the time range within which that must be accomplished. So all this constitute a framework by which you can measure the attainment of the goals that you are setting. So that is basically what we are looking at when we are talking about measurable goals. Just the slide before this, So I'll just type into the next examples. Sorry. All right. So we said when you're setting measurable goals, it has to be performance based, not just outcome goals. Performance based in the sense that how am I going to go about doing these things? All right. It will give you a way of measuring up. This is what I want to set out to do. For instance, I want to get a car that will be comfortable enough for my family to travel with. That is what you are after. Now, the judgment of whether you attain that goal or not should be whether you were able to fulfill the original objectives that you set out to accomplish, which is what? Getting a car that is good enough for your family, comfortable enough for your entire family to travel in. So once that is realized, it doesn't matter what other people are doing. It doesn't matter what else you are seeing outside. It is based on what you started out to achieve. So it is performance based. Then you should break it down. If it's going to be measurable, you should be able to break it down. This is uh, In fact, I like to include, I really like to call it three distance, but I won't, maybe it's better this way. I used to use long, medium, short, but this is broken down into long, short, and daily tasks. All right. So you should be able to say, okay, this is what I want to do um, over my lifetime. If you say in my life, I want to be this is what I want by the time I'm passing on from this world, this is what I want to have achieved. Okay, so what are you going to be doing over the next 25 years? What are you going to be doing over the next 15 years? What are you going to be doing over the next 5 years? What are you going to be doing over the next 1 year? What are you going to be doing this month? What are you going to be doing coming week? What are you going to be doing every day towards meeting some of these targets that you are setting? So your goal should be broken down. If it is too broad, if it's just too broad. I want to I want to become I want to become renowned in my community for helping people. What does that mean? How do you measure its success? It's too vague. If it's too vague, it becomes difficult to actually put in efforts towards accomplishment. It becomes difficult to know whether you are succeeding or not. It becomes difficult to review your performance. So you don't know how well you've done or where you even need to improve. There's no way to measure the efforts you have put in against the results you're already seeing because it's not measurable. So it needs to be broken down. When you've accomplished your daily task, you know you've accomplished the daily tasks. When you've accomplished the monthly task, you know you've accomplished the monthly task. When you've accomplished what you set out to do at the beginning of the year, you know you've done that. You can measure it. You can say, okay, this is done. All right. Let's continue. Let's look at some more examples
All right, great.
so that will further drive home the point that we are looking at. All right. Okay, it says, I want to give more to God. I want to give more to God. By how much? So it said, instead, we will say, I will increase my giving by 50%. Again, notice that. How much? How much? By 50%. So I want to increase my giving by 50%. Then you are going to break it down into shorter term targets to help you fulfill that overall achievement of giving more to God. So how are we doing that? How are we going to ensure that we are giving more to God starting from now? Is that we are going to start giving 50% starting this next month. I will increase my giving by 50% this year, starting next month. So by starting next month, I've already brought it down into something I can start doing immediately. And so by next month, if I have not increased my giving by 50%, I can easily tell myself, you did not accomplish this. If I've done it, I know, okay, yes, I'm in line with the longer term goal of giving more to God. Let's look at the next example. I believe able to really drive home the point. I want to spend more time with my family. How do you do that? All right. How are you going to do that? I will take my family out once a month if that is what you want to do. All right. If you believe that you need to you spend more time by taking them out, going places, and all that. So you need to be able to define. Like I even like where we started from. Specific. How am I going to get this thing done? Then the next thing is how much? Taking them out once a month. Once a month. So it becomes measurable. So it's not just I'm going to spend time with my family. It's not even okay to just say I will take out my family. Because if you say I will take out my family, you've not specified whether you are taking them out. It might be once a year. So you just say, I was so busy last month. I'll still do it. I'll do it next month. I'll do it next month. The most important thing is that I'll take them out. The way we would always like to give excuses for not meeting this. But when you've defined it, when you've made it measurable that I'm going to be taking out my family once every month, it now becomes very, very easy to just measure your performance. It becomes very easy to know what you are supposed to be doing. That's also another thing that being measurable does to our goals. It helps us to understand what we ought to be doing at each point in time. So we are more efficient and effective in the utilization of our time, the utilization of our resources. So I will spend more time with my family. How? By taking them out once every month, once a month. So once a month becomes the measure of my performance. Now, I want to love my family more. How? How do you measure that? How do you measure loving your family? So it's going to be difficult to just say, I want to love my family more. What does that mean? So you can start bringing it down to, okay, maybe love to you means spending more time with the family. Maybe love to you means I'm going to be giving them in terms of provisions now, financial,
Maybe more
increasing
money or
my
something like that.
financial, yeah, small money or something like that. So you need to have a way to measure it. If you cannot measure it, if a simple thing I used to use for measurement, personally, when I'm setting my goals is, if someone asks you, did you accomplish this? Were you able to accomplish this? Or how far have you gone in accomplishing this? If you cannot give some very, very clear and concise responses, you did not set measurable targets. So if I ask you, how far have you gone with this? You should be able to tell me, based on this. This is where I am. So it should be measurable that way. I don't know if anyone else has something to also contribute to
Yeah,
the
thank you,
discussion.
brother. So I think we've gone far enough um, for this for this particular session. I think we have one more example here. I want to give more to God. I think, okay, we discussed this already. Spend more time
No,
with
we discussed this
family.
already.
Yeah, so we'll be looking at making attainable goals from the next session. We'll look at making attainable goals. I want to be a 6 foot basketballer player and the likes. We'll be looking at that again. We're looking at SMART. The SMART goals is what we're discussing today under goal setting. So we've basically discussed specific, measurable. We will be looking at attainable, realistic, and time bound. The fact remains that, like Bro Ernest mentioned earlier, our very life upon the face of the earth is time bound. We all have, as it were, an expiry date. And it's only just wise that we sit down with the help of God and set applicable goals for our life, such that we'll be able to say, like Jesus upon the cross, he said, "It is finished." And Paul said, "I have run the race and I'm done." Right? We should be able to say at some point in time, "I'm done," because we know that we are done. You can't say you are done if it's not measurable. You can't say you are done if it's not specific, right? We were studying the life of Samson in my family. We were reading the book of Judges, and when we got to Samson, Samson had something that looks like a sad ending, and one of the family members was like, "And but why did the Bible call him a judge? Did he really do anything? He didn't deliver them from the hands of the Philistines or anything." But we went back to look at how the Bible um, described Samson. The Bible said that he was going to begin the deliverance. So perhaps he fulfilled his purpose. In fact, the Bible said that in his dying, he killed more people than he did than when he was alive. Right? So there's a need for us to spend time to be specific in our goal setting, ensure they are measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. I want to appreciate Bro Ernest Afolabi and Bro Victor Okra for coming online. So please, as you watch this particular episode, when we're done with goal setting, we'll be going to topical Christian issues, um, contemporary or old time. We'll be looking at things like tithing, we'll be looking at things like Christians and tax. We'll be looking at some other topical issues. Um, what does the Bible say concerning times like this? If you have any topic you want us to research on and discuss, please put in the chat box. I'll be happy to discuss them. share this channel widely and ensure please that you subscribe. The Lord bless you for coming. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.